Will Stringer, co-founder and CEO of Chisos.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today I have Will Stringer, the founder of Chisos, aka Chisos Capital. You will see on the line, and he's all the way from California, by the way of Texas. So he's not all the way crazy, but he's in California right now, so he's kind of like, why, Puerto Rico, why Cali? But Will, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, I gotta have you because you're the type of guy that, people always ask me. I want to have the greatest idea since sliced bread, and taken from George Carlin joke, it's not really that interesting. Sliced bread. It's a piece of bread and you slice it. You may not remember that joke, William, looking at your hairline. You might not, know who George Carlin is. But, tell us, what is your company doing? Because, people want money for their great ideas and they don't have it. So how are you connecting the dots?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. So Chisos is an investment platform providing capital to early stage entrepreneurs. And when I say early stage, it's pre-traction. It's idea stage, really before angels or VCs will invest. So we're providing capital $15,000 to $50,000, really to either be the friends and family round or augment a friends and family round and help that entrepreneur get their idea off the ground, get it to an MVP or a prototype, and start making revenue, start gaining some traction, really just get them going.
All right, and I know that in the release, diversity and inclusion is not just something that, you're saying, you're really focusing on that. So talk about that, because there's, certain populations that are like, well, we have great ideas, but nobody is funding us. So how are you like bridging that gap?
Yeah, a couple different ways. So last year, a lot of stats came out. Kauffman Foundation, some other research foundations put out stats that were pretty abysmal, saying, who gets funding to start their company. Women founders got less than 20% of all VC capital. Certain minority groups got less than 2% of VC capital. Just absolutely abysmal. So what we've done is two things: created a structure that really allows us to invest in anybody without a warm introduction or without kind of needing that network. So we have an open online application where anybody can go apply. They'll fill out some information. We'll get that information. And we have some automated systems on the front end to really do some underwriting on our kind of three core underwriting criteria. But really, we think that the structure of our investment, our convertible income share agreement, is what allows us to invest in anybody, even if their idea is only kind of, call it half-baked at the point in time. And we can get into the convertible income share agreement, but really it's made up of two pieces. One is an income share agreement with the founder, and the other piece is a safe in their business. So it's kind of this debt equity hybrid instrument, allows us to invest at the earliest, riskiest stage, and really allows us to underwrite the person and not just their idea and their kind of ability to network into an angel or VC to have their own idea underwritten.
And how are you doing that? Like, how are you doing that? And others, they haven't, all the think tanks and the Harvard MBA and PhD, like the light bulb went off you and you're making it work, while others struggle with that so hard. Like, what did you find that others didn't find?
I think it was the income share agreement, honestly. So the income share agreement it's not new. It's the idea of it has kind of been around for a while, but it's really been implemented in the education space at scale for about 5 years now. So boot camps like Lambda School or some of the others, traditional universities starting to use income share agreements. And the key for us was that income share agreement, it's not a credit instrument. It is a financial contract, but it does require some repayment, but it's much more flexible than debt. So really the gist of it is, when you make income, you make repayments. If you're making less than, in our case, $40,000, you make zero repayments. And so that flexibility is what's so crucial to initially students, but now to entrepreneurs. When an entrepreneur is looking for capital to get their business off the ground, they can go to a bank, but a lot of times banks are, super risk averse. They're going to say, no way, it's too early, too risky. They can go use their personal credit card, which a lot of entrepreneurs do. Those rates on credit cards are pretty high, and you have payments that you have to make no matter what your income is. Same with a home equity loan or other types of credit products. And so we think our kind of key insight here was taking that income share agreement, that flexible instrument, combining it with the equity component that gives us, exposure to the upside should that business succeed, and really making that investment terms that allow us to get capital into the hands of those early stage entrepreneurs.
Wow. Okay. And that income agreement, for those who say, wait, what is it? The shared agreement, does that mean if a, company startup comes to you and says, we have this great idea, we need your money, when, they get $10 million, let's just, for example, that you will share that, and at what percentage, if I even got that correct?
Yeah. So there are, I'll make a distinction between what we do with the income share agreement and what a few other alternative capital providers do with revenue-based financing. So there's a proliferation of revenue-based financing companies that say, all right, your company's making, X amount of revenue. We'll advance you, or we'll make an investment in your company. And then through your company's revenue, you pay us a percentage, up to a certain cap, or, indefinitely, whatever the terms are. There's a ton of those guys out there. And that's a great option for companies that have revenue over a certain threshold of revenue. But at that earliest stage, when there is no revenue, those don't work. And so what we're doing is saying, hey, founder, you as an individual, we're going to take your income, your personal income, W-2, K-1, 1099, and use that as the basis for that revenue stream. And so as you make income personally, either you pay yourself through your startup, or you do consulting on the side, or other means of making income, that's the basis by which we will require repayments. And our repayment percentage starts at 10%. So if you're making $50,000 a year, you're paying us $5,000 a year in repayment. And again, if you're making less than $40,000 a year, which a lot of entrepreneurs do in the beginning, you're paying us zero for that period of time. So that's kind of the difference there.
Okay, so as long as they don't go over that mark, they're paying zero. You know what? And you might be going for sainthood, but I love to do good as well as make money. But do you ever find a difference where you'll have an entrepreneur and they're so humble in the beginning, and then they get to that point and it's like, hold on, Will, who? This was my great idea, where they're like, you really want me to share that much? Have you seen yet greed come into play with folks once they, feel like they've made it? And I'm doing air quotes for those of you who are listening.
We haven't yet. We're still pretty early, and we've made 11 investments to date. So still a pretty small portfolio. And so we're pretty close with all of our founders. We meet with them on a, monthly or bi-monthly basis. We're helping them build their business. We're really trying to provide as much value as we can. And so we think if we continue to provide that value, even after, we haven't had any business failures yet, knock on wood, but should a business fail, we want to continue to provide that value by keeping that entrepreneur kind of in our network. Maybe they want to go start another company. We can help them out with introductions, but that's kind of one of our strategies, is really just continually provide that community and value to the entrepreneurs so that they continue to perform on their contract. So we haven't seen anything like that yet.
Okay, and I'm glad to hear that. It's I mean, money can change a whole bunch of situations and even people's idea of who they are. I mean, they start thinking, hey, I'm Warren Buffett or something, and who can tell me everything I do touches the goal. So now I want people to be excited about everything that you're saying, but I also want them to be prepared before they contact you. So before an entrepreneur contacts your company, what should they have already before, as far as, whether it's a business plan, a pitch deck, but, I've got 90-page pitch decks that I've never gone through. I'm like, if you don't make that 20 slides, no one's going to read this, unless you're paying them. So, like, what do they need before, sending that first email?
Yeah, I think we like to see that some work has been done up front, and that work doesn't need to cost anything. Doing your research on your market, on your idea, make sure that you understand your customer. We'd love to see a founder having gone out and talked to their customers and gotten feedback and tried to validate their idea with outside sources. You don't need revenue for us to make an investment, but we want to see that you've done some legwork, done some hustle to start to validate your idea, start putting some information on a page, whether that's a business plan or a deck. Just start to put that information down so that we can read through it and you can deliver it to us succinctly. And there's a ton of great resources online, that are growing exponentially to help you either formulate a pitch deck, formulate a business plan, try to understand what angels and VCs look for in an opportunity. And again, our diligence is a bit more high level, and we can invest quite a bit earlier than traditional angels and VCs. But put in that work. Like, it doesn't cost money to go do a bunch of research and go out and talk to people, pick up a phone, send some emails, start to validate your idea so that you can come with a compelling argument of, hey, I have this great idea. I've solved this great insight and I validated it with a number of people that have this same problem. Now I just need some money to whatever, make a website, get the product prototype ready. We can help with that part of it. But that we like to see people come with some upfront legwork done.
Okay, great. Not something just written on a napkin saying, "Hey, I look at it." What type of businesses excite you, and you guys have a focus? Because some firms will only deal with tech. I'm part of one that in Florida funders. They only want to, local Florida companies that deal with tech. Are there any limitations, and even will you deal with things outside of the country? Because I have an audience that I don't want all my folks in Africa, in Ghana, and South Africa, and beyond, Cameroon, Kenya, all those places. If I don't say their names, they may get jealous. So I might have to go through all 54. But are there any limitations as far as what their focus is? Are there geographics?
Yeah, so today it's US only, unfortunately. So because this income share agreement is a financial contract, we're starting in the US. We understand, US legal systems and how everything works. We're starting to talk with people in a few other geographic locations to see how could we roll this out in other countries. That's very early stages. So today it's US only, and that's US companies and US citizen and permanent resident founders. In terms of the types of companies, really two main criteria, which are a little bit vague, but scalable and capital efficient. So that does lend itself to technology enabled companies, just because typically those can be scalable and capital efficient. But if we look at companies that have excited us, you know, e-commerce companies or food and beverage companies, obviously we have a lot of software and app companies, but media companies, gaming companies, really anything that can do a lot with a little bit of capital to get started, at least. So we're staying away from pharmaceutical companies or metals and mining companies, or anything that can't scale. So if someone's looking to open up, a single restaurant or a single bar, that's not for us. So yeah, that kind of gives a little bit of framework around it. But in terms of industry, for now we're industry agnostic.
Okay. Well, I love to hear that. And with geography, like I've had people say, "Hey, Kellen, will you be part of our company? Because we think we could raise more with an American partner." And those are, conversations, we have, and we're like, well, I mean, this could make sense because it's a tech play, especially in healthcare. And healthcare, I want to be part of things in healthcare, wherever they are. I don't care where you are. Tech and healthcare, I am there. Yes, please. But you have to sort out the deals. But what do you find, well, let me rephrase that. It's one thing to give people capital, but what about the mentorship and helping them put their system and teams together? Because capital, I always like to say money is the easy part, but it's really finding the right people to implement the work and create a system. That's the difference between Amazon and Wish. You're gonna get your stuff on Amazon Prime in 2 days at most. Wish, hey, look, a month has passed. Now it's free. So give us like how do you get the mind and their company systems together?
Yeah, that's a big component of what we're trying to bring as that value add. Because, like you said, people can find capital a lot of times, not always. There's don't get me wrong, it's definitely hard to find capital in a lot of situations. But what we're trying to do is bring a community aspect and a resources aspect to help our founders because they're so early. We realize that a lot of them are going to need some help or a lot of help to be successful. And so it's in our best interest to help them as much as we can to pull our resources together and provide them with a database of resources to help them fill the gaps or help them succeed. And so a couple examples, we're building a database of mentors, advisors, investors, and service providers so that we can offer that to our portfolio of founders. They can look through it and say, hey, this mentor has e-commerce expertise. Can I get an intro there? Or even just reach out directly to them. And then they can make that connection, and hopefully that mentor adds some value. Same with investors. They can search through the database and say, hey, this investor likes gaming and media companies. Let me reach out directly to them. And because they're kind of coming through the Chisos channels, we hope, and what we're trying to make sure happens is, they'll get to have that conversation. So that, in addition to kind of meeting with the companies on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, understanding their problems, understanding, what their biggest hurdles are, and really trying to be an extension of their team. That's kind of the value add and community that we're trying to bring.
I love that. Now, how did you get involved in this? Because you're a young guy, and VC is an old man's game because you know everybody. When you're 60, 70 years old, you've been around the block, or you even paved the block. So, how did you, get in the game, get the connections to, not just benefit your company, but so many others?
Yeah, so a bit of my background, graduated UT Austin with a finance degree, went out and worked in banking in Houston, and then worked after banking in a single family office. So I was on the investment team there, got to work on a ton of different deals, really build my network there at the family office to a decent size. In the back half of my time at the family office, really started gravitating towards technology, venture capital, and early stage deals. And so I got to spend 2 years really meeting a lot of people in the space and just being interested in the space. So connecting with, other founders or other investors, got deep into Twitter realm and started following everybody there that, talks about deals and talks about early stage investing. And then moved out to California, 2 years ago, so that I could be physically kind of in the realm of where a lot of the early stage action was. I'm not in the Bay Area, I'm down in LA, but LA's got a pretty vibrant startup community as well. And so started meeting people around here. So it was really just one, I had, the fortunate opportunity to work at that family office and be able to meet a lot of people, a lot of investors, a lot of founders, a lot of, business professionals. But then moving to LA, started meeting, even more people in the startup VC community, and just having a bunch of Zoom calls, having coffee meetings, DMing and talking to people on Twitter. And that's kind of how I started building my network in the space.
And for that person who may be, going to college or in college, about to finish, I've had a few different people, and they're from everywhere, and they look like the whole world. It doesn't matter. Even the last guy I had, he was from Toronto by the way of Ghana, and he was talking about being in a family office. And my audience says, Kellen, the family office sounds like a syndicate. Well, I said, all I'll say is, if someone tells you they're in a family office, it's not. I like that more than when people say, I'm an investor and a philanthropist, because anybody can say that, but not everybody can say, they work in a family office. What do you think that key thing or that key person was that allowed you to, what I say, jumpstart your connection base to get in a family office? Because majority of people aren't going to be able to work in one.
Yeah, it was super lucky. I won't lie, and everybody I talked to, that was kind of at the junior level, like me, in family offices, it was kind of a similar situation where they, were kind of looking for jobs, and then this opportunity for a junior investment role at a family office came up through somebody that they knew. So in my specific case, someone I knew who I worked with at the bank, they said, hey, I know, a person who works at this family office, and sounds like they're trying to hire a junior investment professional. Are you interested? Super lucky, if it had been, a month or two either way, that opportunity might not have been there. So, that was my story. There's very similar stories of people that I talked to that got opportunities to join family offices that same way. Some family offices, are a bit bigger on their investment team, and so they actually put out, job opportunities. But yeah, it's an interesting world, the family office, because every family office is different. Some are super under the radar. Some put themselves out there and operate, just like a, either hedge fund or private equity firm would. So it really just depends. I'd say, if you're trying to work your way into the family office world, start connecting with people on LinkedIn and Twitter, and just start trying to have a bunch of conversations so that your name is kind of circulating in that realm and people know that you're interested. And then those opportunities, hopefully will come your way because people know you're interested.
Okay, because you can buy a lot of things in the world. You can, buy your way into, certain universities. We found, you can get in trouble for that as well. But you can't really buy your way. I haven't heard anyone say I bought my way into the family office. Not that they would admit it, Will, but that, even behind the scenes, it's like, this is probably going to be the hardest job interview you do, because everybody, wants to join because they know it's like working at Google or something in its heyday. Or even now, if I work at Amazon, I can put Amazon, Microsoft, and Facebook. Living in Seattle for a time, people just wanted those three so they could then go branch on their own and say how they built up these billion-dollar companies. You get it, because you see it and you're like, you were the janitor. All right, you were the janitor at those places. You didn't really have anything to do with the new software. But
no, they got the logo on their pitch deck.
and it's the same way. I'm a PR guy, I'm a consultant. The same way I cringe when I see everybody say, as seen on CBS, on NBC, on Fox, and I know how some of them did it, and I call it cheating, because anybody could do it, and it doesn't mean anything if I can't Google your name and you pop up, or if you were never, if you're on a whole bunch of backlinks. And that's the part of PR that I really hate to say. This is why I'm creating in my mind and on a little bit of piece of paper, like, let's just automate all the PR. It's not rocket science. There's a science to it, but let's just automate it. Let the robots do what they do because they're already writing term papers and books and all that other stuff. Just let them go. But I love that. So, this is a fresh idea. Do you see yourself doing this for the next 20 years? Or do you see yourself saying, you know what, I'm going to sit back or kind of, just build this thing out? Possibly, someone could buy me out. I don't know why you would sell such a great idea like this, but yeah, give me the game and the prediction.
Yeah, so here's the plan, and the reason I'm doing it is I love the early stage space because it's exciting. You've got people with ideas that will them into the universe just because of what they do. And I love that. And that's kind of what is going to shape the world going forward at an even faster pace is technology, is entrepreneurs coming up with new ideas to solve the problems that are out there. So I'll be doing that probably for the rest of my career, just because it's so exciting. And the opportunity set today is, I think, even bigger than it was 10 years ago. New technologies create new opportunities. There's plenty of problems in the world to solve. So that's, hopefully you can hear the passion in my voice there, but that's exciting. In terms of Chisos and the convertible ISA, today we're raising our own funds and deploying our own capital. But we realize that that's going to put us in a bottleneck situation because this idea should be available globally, everywhere in the world. There are entrepreneurs that can't get access to capital because they don't have, a wealthy family or good connections that can write that friends and family check or even that angel check. And so our goal is to really create a platform out of this idea and say, all right, let's start opening up new geographies, figure out legally in other geographies how we can offer the convertible ISA, put a team lead in that geography that can start sourcing those opportunities and start deploying that capital and really start spreading out that way so that we take ourselves out of the bottleneck. Even longer term than that, we hope to really start to look at a marketplace opportunity. And this is kind of getting really into the grand vision, but we think there's a bit to do in the crypto space where you've got entrepreneurs that submit their ideas, submit kind of their own credentials, really, the same things that we look for when we're underwriting. And then we have investors that come in and say, hey, this founder looks like a good bet. I like their idea. Let me provide them with capital. A little bit like some of the crowdfunding platforms, how they operate today, but using our convertible income share agreement so that it's less risky for the investor, because the fact of the matter is a lot of early stage investments, a lot of times they go to zero. But with our investment, maybe the equity goes to zero, but that income share agreement won't go to zero. That stays in place. And so we think that's a great way to draw in more investors and provide more capital to entrepreneurs on a global basis.
And a lot of startups, they say they know they need capital, but there's a lot of rumors, or sometimes it's true, where people get their whole companies taken from them, and people will say, "Hey, how much are you going to take from me percentage-wise once this is all done?" Is there a set number that you have for that?
Yeah, so we're coming in, and it depends on the stage of the company. I'd say we target about $1 million valuation coming in, but our average on our current portfolio is closer to $2 million. So let me give an example. We come in with a $50,000 check. We're looking for 5% ownership in the company to begin with. Now, there's two founder-friendly features of our investment that can reduce that ownership. So every ISA payment that is made reduces the equity ownership percentage owed to Chisos and reduces the dilution to the founder. So if we come in $50,000 check and get 5% initial equity, once the ISA is paid off, the founder will claw back 2/3 of that equity. So what is that? 1.67% equity ownership to Chisos, and the rest really goes back to the founder. So there's not a huge amount of dilution at the end of the day. And in addition to that, we're a fairly passive investor when it comes to any type of business control. So our philosophy is really, hey, we want to support you the best we can, but you're building your business. You'll make the decisions. We don't take a board seat or anything like that. So we're here to support, but you're really making all the decisions. And that doesn't change if you take an investment from Chisos.
Okay, so Will's not a greedy guy, so I guess I am right. He's going for sainthood, and you know, that's beautiful. And you know, this is not a Mr. Wonderful type deal that many see on Shark Tank because people get nervous and they're like, you know, even in the beginnings of Shark Tank, you know, they were taking percentage of companies just to present your idea, making many entrepreneurs say no, because if I don't get a deal, I was what's the point just for the marketing? And they've changed that since then, in all fairness. What
I actually
is
didn't know that.
Oh, okay, yeah. What is the best is yet to come, and you're doing all of this great stuff. But what is your community give back that you are doing right now, if this wasn't enough, right? Or that you plan on doing in the future, when things even, go 10 times the size and, you're saying, hey, we just created the next Amazon, Google, or whatnot, and we funded them. What is that community give back?
Yeah, today it's doing some office hours. We're a pretty small team, so I do office hours with a couple different accelerators. We're going to start holding office hours, for our portfolio and for anyone interested in what Chisos is doing. And hopefully, as the world starts opening up, we'll start having some in-person events. So saying, hey, let's get some founders together, have them, discuss what hurdles they're facing. Maybe they can help each other. Maybe they can make connections. We can start holding, investor speed dating events. So we've had feedback that's from early stage founders that say, hey, it's hard for me to get in front of investors. Can you start holding events where you're bringing in investors and bringing in founders and then making those connections, even if it's just a minute pitch or a minute intro? That opens up the door for further conversations along the lines or at a later time. So we're thinking about those different types of events, thinking about how we can grow our community and get more people involved that aren't just our portfolio founders. That's all kind of part of growing the Chisos brand, finding new great opportunities that we can invest in. And then also just kind of strengthening the early stage founder ecosystem, which is all kind of a benefit for both founders and Chisos. So a couple different things we're thinking about there.
No, awesome. Why was it so important for you to go after? I mean, this is I'm going into the scriptures, going at the least of these, those who we'll say for the Black community, it's 1% or less actually get funding, says the stats that were sent over. Why was that so important for you to reach out to?
For us, it's really an opportunity because we see a ton of talent. We have a partnership with a group that we actually invested in called No Cap out of Atlanta. And so they've been sending us a lot of founders out of the Atlanta startup ecosystem. And there's a ton of talent and they're not getting investment dollars, but they have great ideas. They actually have some traction and will likely build a subset of them will likely build very successful companies. So for us, it was kind of a no-brainer of like, look, let's go find these overlooked or underfunded entrepreneurs and provide them with capital if it makes sense for their situation, because we think we can get them from kind of 0 to 1, help them get their product into the market, and then kind of plug them into some of the upstream investor networks and have them see some really, really good success because they're super talented founders. So, yeah, it's just a massive opportunity that I think is there's a lot of investors that are starting to see that. And so I think the momentum is moving in the right direction, but there's still a ton of work to do.
Their name is No Cap. No Cap.
No cap. Yeah. Like knowledge capital.
Okay, because you know the slang, no cap, no joke, no lies. I'm like, no cap, the name is no cap. So I got you. But okay, they took it from knowledge capital. I love it. I love that. I love it. And that joke can go well over in Atlanta too. I don't care how corny it is. It's all good. Well, with everything that you're doing, do you have plans? Maybe it's too early to have a book out, because everything you had just said with maybe having people doing pitches, that's YouTube material all day. And then it's kind of like what we see with Master P online with the YouTube. So I guess my question is, do you guys have a YouTube already, and you have plan on doing a book?
So we don't. I mean, we have kind of YouTube materials where we'll put webinars and stuff out, but that's definitely part of our roadmap of how can we better support the founders, is using our channels, our media channels, our social channels, our press channels to promote the founders and their companies. Because if they're just starting, they may not have a big audience. And as we grow our audience or grow our database of people that are interested in everything that we're doing, we can help promote or amplify those messages of those founders, whether that's through YouTube, whether that's through just traditional socials, whatever makes the most sense at the time. But yeah, that's kind of a plan. In terms of you said a book.
Yeah,
we haven't thought about that, but I imagine if that makes sense and that provides a lot of value to both our founders and to Chisos, absolutely something that we would look at.
okay. And I say that because there's so much knowledge when people are getting in this, and you end up repeating yourself. So I always tell clients, put it on the YouTube, because I do it myself for things that can't really be, even if it's not for the masses and it's unlisted. I don't want to say this again for a brand deal. I deal with influencers all the time. And I'm like, yo, just throw it on a video, let them read it. If they got questions from there, now you're educated. Boom. So no book plans yet. But what about influencers and influencer marketing, especially because, I'm targeting the least of these. A lot of folks are on YouTube, trying to do a business, trying to learn. So will you guys do a big push with maybe influencers to say, hey, we're here, so your audience who are entrepreneurs, let them come here, and possibly even doing a joint deal? Yes, folks, I am negotiating a deal for my clients right now in a live interview. I'm just telling you, I don't want anyone to think, is he making a deal right now? Yes, it's a pathway. There's no time like the present. So is that absolutely something? Yeah.
That's how it's done. Yeah, we're experimenting with all avenues right now. So, it's not my expertise by any means. I don't have a marketing background. We have an amazing kind of chief marketing officer who's handling our broader strategy. And, she's built out a strategy really around both organic, social, and kind of educational content, as well as a little bit of press and PR. But as we think about really marketing to two audiences, one is investors. We're doing a Reg CF raise right now on WeFunder, and so we can market to anybody just because we're using that Reg CF. The fund that we're raising under exemption 506C, meaning we can do general solicitation. So there's a marketing component to all of that on the investor side. So we're trying a bunch of stuff there, as well as doing a lot of marketing to the entrepreneurs. So we've got to find these great opportunities. And so that means meeting the entrepreneurs where they spend time, whether that's social on Twitter, whether that's YouTube, TikTok, blogs, whatever it is. We're really just experimenting a lot and seeing what provides us with good metrics in terms of conversions or clicks or, applications in the case of entrepreneurs.
Well, you guys have got the game. Of course, as always, I want to take 2 minutes to talk to Will offline about some ideas that are just floating in my head from this interview. But I want you to go check out the links in the description box and make sure if you don't do anything else that you make sure check out the website and share it with somebody. I mean, this is free 99 just to share so somebody can be inspired and say, wow, this solves my problem of the day, the year, possibly, of the decade. And now you have at least an outlet because there's nothing like hope. And you're at least giving people hope. And if we don't have companies like yours, Will, we're going to find this country to just turn into something like it's only for those the have and have nots, which many would say it's like that now, depending on where you are in that, that ladder. So I think we have to try to take care of the least of these. And, the rich are always and the wealthy are always going to eat. I mean, they're already fat. So I get it. But I thank you for coming on. Do you want to leave the audience with anything?
Yeah, I just say, echo what you said. Check out our website, chisos.io. Also, like I said, we're raising on WeFunder, wefunder.com/Chisos, and shoot us an email. I mean, we've got a intercom chat on our website. If you want to ask questions, we've put out webinars on YouTube. We have some explainer videos. We have some blogs. We've tried to put out a ton of content to explain what it is we do it and how we do it, so that people can determine if it's right for them, right for their situation. And if it is, we'd love for you to apply and let's have a chat, see if we're the right capital partner for you.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stretch the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.